Hey, what's going on everybody? It's etaprime back here again. Today we're going to be taking a first look at the all-new Anbernic RG405m. So I've actually been really excited about this device, waiting for it to drop, and we did have some leaks a few months ago stating that this would be releasing soon, and we finally got it. So basically what we have here is an 8-core ARM CPU. It's running Android, a 4-inch IPS touch display in a metal case. Overall, really like the design. This one is the gray version. They also have a black version, but to my eye, which I've mentioned it before, I am a bit colorblind when it comes to oranges and reds. This looks blue, but I asked my wife, she said it looks a little green on camera. Not sure what's going on here. Love the way this is set up. We've got dual stereo speakers, a 3.5mm audio jack. And if you take a look up top, you'll see we've got a little ventilation system. This is not actively cooled. It's a passively cooled system, so there's no fan inside of it, but this does allow it to kind of release heat. And since the whole unit is metal, personally, I haven't noticed any kind of thermal throttling while using this for a long period of time. Over here on the left-hand side, we've got our Hall-based analog stick and our trusty old Anbernic D-pad. Same thing that they've been using for a while. Some of my favorite D-pads have come from this company. And we've also got a dedicated back or home button over here. Moving over to the right-hand side, ABXY. As you can see out of the box, it's kind of laid out like the Switch, but from software we can change this. And if it came down to it, you could actually get in here and swap the buttons out just to make it, let's say, an Xbox style layout. We've also got the other Hall-based analog stick and a start and select button. Dual stereo speakers, 3.5mm audio jack, and a micro SD card slot down here on the bottom. And up top, obviously, we've got our shoulder buttons, our triggers, a power button, volume rocker, and USB Type-C for charging the internal battery up. Now when it comes to the specs of the RG405m, for the CPU, we've got the Unisoc T618. This is an 8-core ARM CPU. We've seen this in a lot of tablets and handhelds recently. 2 A75 cores at 2 GHz and 6 A55 cores at 2 GHz. We've got a Mali G52 GPU at 850 MHz. It's all backed by 4 GB of LPDDR4X RAM, 128 GB of eMMC storage, plus micro SD card support, a 4-inch IPS display at 640 by 480, Hall sensor-based analog sticks, a built-in 6-axis gyro, 4500 mAh battery, and you can charge this up in 2 hours, and I've been getting around 6 hours and 10 minutes of gameplay out of it, but I do have the brightness set to 100%. They're claiming around 7 hours. And when it comes to the operating system, this has Android 12 pre-installed. We do have access to Google Play, and the official RG front end is already installed, ready to go. We can activate it at any time. Now the first thing I wanted to do was give you a look at the internals. I was kind of blown away by how well this is put together. Anbernic has been doing a great job with quality for a long time, but I think they've stepped up their game with the RG405m. Obviously we've got that metal shell, but as you can see we've got a protective shield over everything inside of the unit, even the battery. And the Wi-Fi/Bluetooth antenna is mounted to the back half of the shell. It's going to make contact with these 2 contact points here to the main board, and I just really do like the way this whole thing's set up. Okay, so as we know, it's running Android. Very smooth system here with that T618. I mean, we've got enough power to run the operating system. Android 12 right out of the box, and like I mentioned, we do have full access to Google Play. There's no kind of mods we need to do or anything like that. This is going to come in really handy for a lot of people who just want to get in there and download their favorite Android games, but this also comes pre-installed with a lot of emulators. So basically, I mean, you could take this out of the box, add your favorite retro games, and you don't even need to connect online to start playing with it. And we also have the built-in retro game launcher. This has definitely been updated, and I'm loving the design here. I think it looks really good, but we do have some customization that we can do now. There's a few different themes that we can enable here, but you know, I'm going to keep it just like this. Love the minimal kind of shadowy design that they have going on here, but we can add our games very easily from internal storage or a micro SD card. If I head in here, I've already got a bunch of PSP games set up. All of the emulators we need to run this are pre-installed, and if you don't want to use this front end, you don't have to. You can use the standalone emulator or just go right through RetroArch. But we do have some customization we can do. There's actually quite a few. I think there's about 8 that we can choose from. So there's probably one in here that you'd like, but you know, the stock default theme I think looks absolutely amazing. I definitely wanted to do a little bit of testing in this first look video. So first thing we're going to test out here are just a couple native Android games. Minecraft, very well optimized, been on the market for a while, didn't think we'd have an issue. We're at 12 chunks, fancy graphics is on, And all of these native Android games do scale quite well to this screen here. Next up, we've got Asphalt 9, and by the way, with Minecraft in this game here, I didn't have to mess around with any kind of controller configuration. It just works right out of the box, along with a lot of other native Android games that natively support controllers out of the box. Now we also have built-in mapping software, so we can actually map on-screen touch points to the built-in controls. That way we can get the built-in controls to work with something like Call of Duty Mobile and even Genshin Impact. But we've also got that 6-axis gyroscope built in, and personally, I really have never played many Android games with the built-in gyroscope on my phone or anything like that, so I'm definitely horrible at it. But I wanted to show you that it is here, and it does work with these Android games. Another thing I wanted to test real quick was game streaming. Now personally, I like using Steam Link, but Moonlight is already pre-installed, so you won't even have to go and download it. You can update it from Google Play if you want to, and I'm streaming from my main PC in the house. As you can see, we've got that Steam Deck interface. I'm on the latest Steam beta for my Windows PC, and we'll test out Cyberpunk 2077. The RG404m does have AC Wi-Fi built in, so we can pick up that 5 GHz network, and with my Steam Link, I can stream up to 100 megabytes per second, which definitely enables 1080p gameplay, but as you can see, with the aspect ratio of the built-in display, we've got those black bars on the top and bottom. A lot of these games were meant to be played at a 16:9 aspect ratio. Still works great though. But the main reason everybody picks up these handhelds is for emulation, and I wanted to get into a little bit of testing here. I've got a lot more coming in my next video, but first up we've got Dreamcast using the Redream emulator. Sonic Adventure 2 running at 60 FPS is up in the top left hand corner. By the way, I am upscaled in Redream, but it's not going to make much of a difference given that we're running at a higher resolution than the screen's resolution. With the Unisoc T618, I haven't had any kind of issues with Dreamcast, whether it comes to Redream or Flycast. You're going to be good to go. Real quick, one thing I always like to do is just test out this D-pad with fighting games. We've got Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I just wanted to see if it was the same thing that they've been putting in their other ones. And yeah, we've got a really nice D-pad here. Great for fighting games and platformers. Next up, we've got some PSP emulation using the standalone version of PPSSPP, Chains of Olympus, one of the harder ones to emulate. We're at 1x resolution, Vulkan back in, no frame skip, running at 60. And if you're into emulation, you know this game is kind of the go-to test for PSP. Seeing it run so well at 1x means that the easier to emulate stuff can upscale to around 3x, but remember, we're still going to be working with the lower resolution display here, so keeping everything at 1x is probably the way to go. It's also going to save you battery life. And of course, I wanted to test at least one Gamecube game in this first look video. Here we have Wind Waker. I'm using the Dolphin MMJR emulator. We're at 1x resolution, Vulkan back in. And when it comes to the Unisoc T618 CPU, it's not the most powerful chip on the market by far, but there are Gamecube games that we can run at full speed. Don't expect to run the full library. Games like Rogue Squadron, F-Zero GX are really going to struggle here, but if you wanted to run Sunshine, obviously Wind Waker, Billy Hatcher, there's a lot of games that will run pretty decently on this chipset here. So first impressions here, loving the form factor, glad that this one's made out of metal. Those Hall-based analog sticks are awesome. Now they are Switch size, they're not full-size analog sticks, so if you're not into those, then you won't like these, but they do feel good and work great. We've got their good old D-pad design, which is definitely one of my favorites on the market, especially when it comes to these retro handhelds. I think they do make the best D-pad, especially for fighting games, which is one of my go-to genres. The 4-inch IPS display does look great. Got some really good brightness to it, awesome colors. Some people are going to be a bit disappointed that it's only 4-inch and not a larger display, but this thing does fit directly in your pocket. I mean, it's kind of the perfect size. Now, I've got at least one more video coming up. I want to spend a few more days with this unit, so definitely let me know what you want to see running on this in the comments below. I will be testing some PS2, some more Gamecube, we'll test some Wii, and some game streaming apps like GeForce Now and Xbox Cloud Gaming. But I know there's a lot that everybody wants to see running on this, so just give me your thoughts down below. And like always, thanks for watching.